Hello and welcome back to AmbiV. I'm Casper and today we're going to see if we kicked our smoking habit with this new turbo. Today I was supposed to be installing the heater core in the 240Z. Unfortunately, I found out that the hose size between the engine and the heater core that I have from Vintage Air are different and I need some adapters. So since I can't do that, what I'm gonna do is button up this system and see if we solve the smoking issue the turbo was having with this new turbo. So the first step was I already took care of the upper end of putting the oil dipstick back in and hooking up the steering. Now I just need to get under there, install the rest of the exhaust, put the wideband O2 sensor back in and top off the fluid. For good measure, I'm also going to do an oil change. This break-in oil has a couple dynos on it and I want to make sure it has perfectly fresh oil. So we'll also do an oil change real quick. So let's get to it. Now that everything's buttoned up under the car, I'm going to be moving on to the oil change. This car has break-in oil in it still, so I'll be putting more break-in oil back in before switching over to some Motul. But the important part here is ensuring that I have clean enough oil, or as clean oil as possible, and enough oil for the turbo, because I do not want any excuses for this turbo to fail as well. So let's go ahead and get some clean oil put in here. If you can hear me over the sound of the draining oil, this is why you change break-in oil fairly regularly. This is a magnetic spark plug covered in metal filings. So this is all the basic materials from the internals of the engine that are being broken in and bedded in. You don't want too much of this stuff sitting in there. So the filter and the oil should be changed a couple of times during the break-in process. I'm going to go ahead and cut open this filter to see how much junk is actually in the filter as well, just for curiosity's sake. If this were a broken-in engine, this much material would be extremely worrying, but because it is a new engine, it's to be expected there will be some wear and tear on it. Now that I have the oil filter out of the car, this is a good chance for us to see what a dirty oil filter looks like. In some of my previous videos, I've used this tool to dissect oil filters, and this one will for certain be dirty and will show us what contaminants look like. From the outside, I can tell it already looks like a bunch of graphite, which is usually off of the cams and the bearings wearing in. But we'll see if there's anything unusually big in here. This filter is pretty small, so this is as small as this tool actually goes, which makes it a little trickier. And these K&N filters actually are built pretty well, so they're harder to cut through. All right, so we've got our rubber diaphragm and we have our filter cartridge, and it is black and full of glitter. So if you shine a light on this, you'll see a lot of tiny shiny flakes. In a completely healthy broken-in engine, there should be no glitter. That's a sign that your bearings are breaking down or something. When an engine's breaking in, the very first few hundred miles or so, it generally has to wear a pattern into the bearings. So the extra material is being sloughed off, which is what you're collecting with these frequent oil changes and with what break-in oil helps with. You don't want too slippery of an oil substance in the engine during break-in, or you wouldn't get the wear in that you need to bed all these parts in properly. Once this is complete, all of this should cease. But for right now, I'm completely not surprised to see glitter. And it's a good example and a reminder of what to look for in my oil when I want to find out if something's going wrong. Okay, now that we've got the oil back in the engine, it's as full as I'll go until I run it a little bit. It's basically just about full. I've got the radiator coolant topped off. I didn't hear any puddles forming under the car, so that's a good sign. So now I'm going to go ahead and try to fire the car up. I'm only gonna fire it up or turn it over for a little bit just to get the oil moving and to get the coolant moving, and then check everything again. We are going to do this in major baby steps because I do not want to have to pull this turbo out again. Well, since I'm standing here in a giant cloud of smoke, obviously we did not fix our problem. The turbo either this turbo has the exact same problem as the old turbo, or the turbo swap did not fix the problem, which makes me incredibly upset considering the shop said this is the last thing they could possibly be. So now my only recourse is I need to get this car back up to the shop that built the engine and have them go through it again because something isn't right. So I'll use some of this footage to hopefully give them an idea of what's going on. Maybe they'll have something they can come up with. As far as from my end, I can't think of anything else it can be. The turbo is now the second brand new turbo, so if this turbo is bad too, I'm moving over to a Borg Warner or something. If this isn't the turbo's fault, I'm going to be very upset they made me RMA a perfectly good turbo and spend a weekend redoing everything again. So thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.